This is JP with Oracle Lighting, and today we're going to be looking at the new 7-inch Oculus ColorSHIFT Bi-LED headlights. These offer all of the same great features as our 9-inch model and fit many different popular vehicles, including the Jeep Wrangler JK. Today we're going to take you through how to replace the OEM headlights, how to wire up the DRL, and wire up the BC1 Bluetooth controller. Let's get started. Okay, so before we get started with the install, we're going to do a little bit of pre-wiring to make the install of the BC1 very easy once we get the headlights on the Jeep. You'll notice that we have 3 cables of 4 that came in the box with the BC1, and we have a total of 6 cables that came in the box with the Oculus ColorSHIFT headlights. We have 3 shorter and 3 longer cables. So the 3 longer cables are going to go on the driver's side, and the 3 shorter cables are going to go on the passenger side, which is going to be closer to the battery and the BC1, so we don't need as long of cables. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of each, and we are going to mate them together to make a Y cable. What this is going to allow us to do is make simple plug-and-play connections at the BC1, and we won't have to worry about doing any wiring or butt connecting while we have the headlights at the Jeep. So this is very simple. All we're going to do is connect our wires color for color, and then we're going to butt connect them to the wires for the BC1 cable color for color, with the exception of the white wire will connect to the black wire. We're going to strip the wire tips, go ahead and get them all twisted. I like to fold mine over slightly just so they have a little bit more surface contact inside of the butt connectors. We're going to add our butt connectors here, and this is going to serve as our home base. Now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and strip our wire tips for the ColorSHIFT headlight cables. Remember, we're using 1 long and 1 short for this. So for these, we're going to go ahead and we're going to twist these together color for color. So we'll start with black. Go ahead and twist those together. Moving on to blue, red, and green. Now, starting with our white wire on the BC1 side, we're going to go ahead and connect that to the black wires. And we're going to move on to red. So now we have 1 Y cable with 1 BC1 cable on the end, and then 1 longer and 1 shorter RGB cable on the other end. We need to repeat this 2 more times, and then we'll be ready. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop the hood. So normally the OEM grill has 6 push fasteners across the top. Because this is an aftermarket grill, it looks like they switched them out for Phillips fasteners. So we're gonna lightly remove this, and we're going to pry these out. All right, so with the fasteners removed from the top, we're just gonna pull on the bottom of the grill. And we're going to pull this out. So next we just need to unplug the park light turn signal. We're also going to unplug the turn signal on the other side. And Scotch locks. It's obvious that these headlights have been installed for a long time. The trim ring has now bonded itself with the lens. So we're going to go ahead and try to pry this off lightly with a screwdriver, and hope we don't damage the factory headlight. And we just need to free this up on both sides. There we go. So on the passenger side, there's a power steering reservoir here. It looks like this one is kind of in the way. However, this is a really easy fix. There's a 10mm bolt at the top securing it in. All you need to do is loosen that, and then you can simply just push it back, tighten that down, and you'll have all the clearance you need. First, we're gonna route our 3 Y cables that we made. Again, we're gonna be using the shorter end on the passenger side and the longer end on the driver's side. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna route the BC1 side of the cable through the headlight cavity and up. We're gonna pull this around. We're gonna tuck this here. We're gonna leave this here for right now until we're ready to mount the BC1. Next, what we're gonna do is route our main cable up and around the core support and through. We're gonna run this over to the driver's side. We're gonna run this back up through. And we're gonna leave this here right behind the headlight. Now that we have our RGB cables ran, all we need to do is route the DRL cable. We're gonna do that by routing the cable up through the passenger side headlight cavity, just the same as we did with our RGB cables. Route the longer side up. The next thing we need to do is we need to connect our add a fuse connector to the red wire for our harness. Twist the wire tip. Okay, get that connected. All right, so we're going to route this around. And we're going to plug this into spot M9. All right, now that we have that routed, we can go ahead and close this down. We're going to undo this 10mm bolt here. We're going to slide our ground cable for the DRL over the post on the negative terminal. We're gonna go ahead and lock this back down. And we have our DRL connected. So first we're gonna plug in the DRL cable. Before you plug these in, you'll notice that there is an arrow on each side. We wanna make sure that the keyways, both of these slots match up. That's gonna ensure we don't have positive and negative reversed. Then we're gonna go ahead and screw down this nut. That's gonna give us a waterproof connection. Now we're gonna move on to our RGB cables. We're gonna go ahead and plug these in one by one. Again, making sure those arrows and keyways match. Get that nut nice and locked down, making sure the keyways match, arrow to arrow. This is very important. Now all we need to do is plug in our H13 connector to the main headlight harness. Once you hear that click, go ahead and lock down your red slider. Now let's go ahead and get this headlight resituated. Now there is a lot of cable here, so you're gonna need to manage how you tuck your cables back. That way you don't obstruct the headlight. Now we wanna make sure that we line up the 3 tabs with the bucket appropriately here. Oracle Lighting logo facing up. Go ahead and get that locked in. Now we're ready to put back on our trim ring. So now we're just going to repeat the same steps on the driver's side, plugging in all of our cables and getting everything nice and routed away neatly. All right, so the last thing we want to do before we get the grill put back on is we want to zip tie these cables that we ran across. We're gonna go ahead and just zip tie those right up to the wire harness that's already running across the core support. This is gonna keep the wires from sagging or touching against the radiator. We don't want those wires to get hot and melt. All right, so now we're gonna connect our RGB cables to the BC1. Again, just taking note of the arrows and the keyways here. We wanna make sure that we have those matching. Get those caps screwed down. Make sure this is all waterproof. Now you'll notice you'll be left with one open output on the BC1. In the box comes a bag of dummy connectors, so we're gonna just use that, cap off this one end. Now all of the connections are waterproof. Now we just need to connect the BC1 to the battery. So we're gonna undo this 10mm nut. We're gonna go ahead and stick on our cable. All right, now with everything connected, we're just gonna go ahead and tuck our wires away. Now we need to reconnect our turn signal park light sockets to the grill. Now we're gonna get our grill back into place, push everything back in, and we'll get our clips back in over the top.